Okay, this is part 2 of my video on WAN settings. So we're going to cover what we didn't cover in part 1, and when I left off in the first video, I just covered maximum segment size, so that brings us to speed and duplex. And by clicking on the advanced button, we can see the speed and duplex options. And with most network interface cards that were made in like the last 15 years, maybe longer, more than that. Most of them will allow for auto detect of speed and duplex, so it's not necessary to set it here, but you could set it here if you wanted to. There's 3 cards in this pfSense box. 2 of them are Intel Pro 100 full duplex cards. I think one of them is a 10 base T TX or 10 base T full duplex card, and so if we want to, we could select it here, but we're not going to. And then there's DHCP client configuration, and here's host name. We could set a client identifier and a host name here, which might be necessary with some ISPs, and we could set an alias IP address, which would then be used as a fixed alias IP address by the DHCP host. Again, we're not going to set it right now. And that brings us down to the last 2 options under private networks. We have block private networks and block bogon networks. There's 2 check boxes here, or check boxing, as it were. So block private networks is to ensure that the private networks defined in RFC 1918, which are 10.x.x.x and 192.168.x.x, which is actually they have 12 bits for the network identifier in that one, so you can actually use the last 4 bits of the second octet for your use that for those 4 bits for the as the first 4 bits of the postfix. And then we have 192.168.x.x, which is what most people use for their home networks, and those are private networks, and they are non-routable addresses. So unless you use NAT or port forwarding, those addresses can't communicate with the rest of the other networks. So generally, you want to have this option turned on, so that that way you have to go through the router to talk to other networks, and you have to configure the router specifically to allow certain services, etc. So we want to have that checked. And then there's block bogon networks, which blocks traffic from IP addresses that are reserved or not yet assigned by IANA, and you probably want to block these because they should never appear in your routing table. So generally, it's a good idea to block those networks. So that's the last of the options, and then we have a save button here, so we could click on save and save those options. And so then we have an apply changes button, so we have to apply changes to apply the changes, and then we're done with configuring WAN settings. Okay, well that does it for WAN settings, and not sure what I'm going to do with the next video, but I'll probably do another video not in the not too distant future.